Lennert de Jong is the Director of Distribution at CitizenM, and he's going to tell us how the CitizenM Hotels are built around their customers, their citizens. So please welcome Lennert de Jong.
I'm sorry, you were waiting? How can I help you? It's a pretty bad start of a presentation, huh? If this would be a hotel, this would be a front desk, and you would be a guest. It's pretty typical. I guess in a normal hotel you have a chance 8 out of 10 that you walk up to the front desk, and the clerk is actually busy with, well, God knows what he's busy with, might be Facebook. But he's not there to help you, and I must say I go to a lot of conferences, mostly travel-related, and I feel honored and privileged to be here, and at the same time I feel a bit intimidated because there's no hotel. There's no single hotel chain or hotel in this room. I'm the only guy. And if I go to travel conferences, I meet directors of revenue management, I meet directors of sales, directors of operations. I think the funkiest thing I've seen is the head of sleep of the Travelodge UK chain. But we don't have a head of consumer experience. And I went through the delegate list, and I think it's half of the people that are here that have some kind of consumer related element in their title. And I was thinking, getting more and more nervous about these presentations because you guys know it much better than I do. I'm a director of distribution, which means I sell rooms with CitizenM. It is a lot more than just selling rooms. It's also about guest satisfaction. And we don't talk about consumers or customers, we talk about guests. But I was thinking, is this a good thing or a bad thing that we don't have a head of customer experience? I'm going to leave the other hotels for what they are, because they're not anyway here to pick on. But I'm going to focus on our little company. And we're still a small company. I come from Amsterdam. So apologies for my Dutch accent. So I'm going to talk a little bit about CitizenM and actually how we've seen the hotel industry from a distance, but also from within. I mean, I've seen the presentation from Lisa, which is excellent, but to be honest, EasyJet, I've been a fan of the program airline, and EasyJet, for me, was always known for the company that had screaming customers yelling at the orange people, and I always felt bad for those customer service employees. And I fly EasyJet myself so now and then, and I must say, I've seen it. I've seen it in the planes. I've seen stewards and stewardesses having fun again. They were taking a joke at me. No other airline does that. But at the same time, if EasyJet can achieve that, speaking for the entire hotel industry, since I'm the only hotel guy here, I feel a bit embarrassed, that EasyJet is out achieving what should be and what is known for something to be really guest-focused. This is the hospitality industry. If there's one industry that has a chance to doing something with guests, with customers, it's the hotel industry. We talk to these people every day. The housekeepers see the guests in the room, the front desk clerks, the restaurant employees, the bellboys. Sony, there's only a couple of people who really meet the customers. I can understand, there's the head of customer service. And, like EasyJet, we're in the hospitality industry, and I'm going to cut this intro short and just going to go into CitizenM. And today what I wanted to explain to you is actually where are we coming from. We have a group of people. We founded CitizenM, and we found this idea in 2005. And unfortunately, it's not like a new software startup, YouTube, that kicks off, and half a year later the owners make billions. We're in building business. We need to build hotels, so it took a little bit longer, but now we're finally there, and we have a lot of hotels in the pipeline. So we're hoping to have a head of consumer services as well in a couple of years, or maybe not. So I'm just going to go into this. This works. So when I tell people I'm in hotel business, I've had a couple of times the question already from somebody here. So what kind of a hotel are you? Are you a business hotel? Are you a leisure hotel? Are you a 5-star hotel? Are you a cheap hotel? You know, you're trying to place the hotel. And at CitizenM, we've turned it around. When we founded CitizenM, or when we found CitizenM, we said, we need to have something on our wall. And we need to put something in every hotel to actually talk to our guests who this is for. Because if you do that, you also talk to people who it is not for. And I think in my presentation, you see a lot of things like, hey, you know, this is for me, and maybe some things, this is not for me, and that's cool. So to all travelers, long and short haul, to the wary, the wise, and the blary-eyed, to the suits, weekenders, fashion baggers, and the fair havers, to the explorers, adventurers, and dreamers, to all locals of the world from Amsterdam, Boston, and Cairo to Zagreb, to all who travel the world with wide eyes and big hearts, to all who are independent yet united in a desire for positive traveling, to those who are smarter than a dolphin with a university degree and realize you can have luxury for not too much cash, to those who need a good bed, a cold drink, and big fluffy towels, to all who are mobile citizens of the world, CitizenM welcomes you all. So the M in CitizenM stands for mobile. It would be pretty obvious for us to name our own hotel after our founder. You know, there's a guy called Ratan Chadha. He's the founder of a clothing, a fashion brand called Max. He sold it in 2001. He was the great initiator behind CitizenM. We could have called it Chadha Hotels, but we said, you know what? We start with a clean sheet. We find a new way to construct hotels, but we also need to find a new way to deal with our guests. So we have our declaration, and we actually called our hotel after the mobile citizens of the world. So who are those guys? Instead of just focusing on, let's say, the traditional marketing aspect, you know, sex, male, female, income, you have geography, there's all kinds of elements that come into this. We actually looked at how do they look? And what are their values? What connects them? What we realized from our past, from you know, being mobile citizens, is that there's a new type of traveler, and there's a new type of human being. These people are not to be put in one bracket. But there's not a lot of people that purely wear Ralph Lauren. That was the 80s. And this actually also comes from our fashion background, where Ratan was challenged in the 80s that he could not produce a cashmere sweater for under 200 euros. And he started trying to understand why, and those type of things, and he was not the only one, but there was a lot of other brands that were trying to make luxury more affordable. How did he do it? Very simply. He was the first to ship his production to Asia. And so he could produce cashmere sweaters for under 100 euros. Right now, you have travelers that wear an Armani jeans with a Gap t-shirt. They drink the most expensive champagne in expensive nightclubs, but they take the night bus home because they want to save money on the transport. And when they're at home, they're going to turn their radiator down to save cost. These people are not to be put in one bracket. So for us, it means these travelers are frequent. If you're a first-time traveler, CitizenM is not for you. Value conscious. If you can afford the Metropolitan on any Saturday for one night, well, maybe the CitizenM is not the choice for you. Go to the Metropolitan. You know, you get your experience there. Multicultural. You need to be open for things. And it all comes back, the pieces of the puzzle fall back together later. Tech savvy. If you cannot perform a self-check-in, don't come to us. Informed, social, international. There's a lot of Dutch people. Our first hotel was in Amsterdam, and I'll talk a little bit about where those hotels are and how they look. And our first pilot hotel was at the airport, and a lot of Dutch people did not understand you know, why we would not speak to them in Dutch. And we simply couldn't. I mean, here it's okay, you need to speak English, it's pretty given. But in other countries, to get away without your home language, it's pretty bold, and that actually is a statement. It's an international company. Even in Amsterdam, where we're situated in our office, we speak English. Contemporary and urban. So if you want to have roses wallpaper in your room, and you want to have the traditional, the marble fountains, forget about it. We don't have that. It's contemporary. So, before talking about how this all came together, I thought I would quickly show you how it looks. I can talk a lot more, but I'm just going to go quickly through 168 slides. So this is a typical entrance, and so that you know you're in CitizenM. We put art on the buildings, so actually with every hotel we have a local artist that puts something on the building. And this is to do with traveling. It's the hotel at the airport. At the South Bank, it's across from an international bank. We have a statement from Tishner. Another world is possible in a very creative way. So staircases, as you can see, it looks quite modern, contemporary. Check-in is being done, and actually I hate this picture because there's no people on it, and we're going through another phase where we're taking another couple of photo shoots to put people on. So it looks very empty, but you can check in 24/7. Doesn't matter how late you arrive. At a kiosk, the only thing you gotta remember is your own name. And I heard, I couldn't make it for the presentation, but this morning there was one speaker who spoke about a hotel where they didn't know his name. So I hope that was not in our hotel, because if you don't have your name, then you have a little problem with us. CitizenM is also a person. It speaks. It's as a brand. It talks to you in a certain way, and it tries to be really consistent through the website, through checking in, in your room, in our communications, and we like to be bold about things, and we like to be disruptive here, and luxury isn't a packet of nuts in a minibar, it's a 24-hour real bar. We call it Canteen-M, and these are a couple of images. It's kind of like a kitchen in the center of the hotel. And so we don't have 28 restaurants and 14 bars, and they're all half empty, and we don't have a lobby where you can have an elephant run through and not do too much damage. We have in the center of the hotel what we call a canteen. And you can grab a fresh piece of sushi here. You can have a barista-made coffee at 3 o'clock in the morning. But if you're true Scottish, you can have a beer at 8 o'clock in the morning. No problem. So it's a 24/7 pit stop for your stomach. That's what we like to call it. This is our lobby in Glasgow. We actually work together with a company called Vitra, something you don't expect in an affordable hotel. They have chairs that actually cost as much as my entire interior at my own home. So typically you don't put these things in lobbies. Maybe it's an idea for EasyJet to put those in airplanes. But we feel that if you trust a guest with something, you will be rewarded. So there's books there. There's a Michael Jackson book in Amsterdam that is 1,500 euros. It has been there since 2008. We had to renovate it once or twice just because a lot of people go through it, but it has never disappeared. So if you trust your guests, you will be rewarded. This is actually the lobby and bankside, how it looks. Doesn't look like a budget hotel, does it? This is New York. Rendering still, we're not open yet. Just some more images. I'm going to go a bit quicker now. So if you talk about our room, we've made some compromises, and we looked at the rooms, and I'll come back to that later. Technically, what is it that you really need in a room? Instead of how does any hotel room look? Yeah, if you walk into a hotel room, there's always a chunk away for the bathroom. On your right, there's usually a safe and like a cabinet, and it goes on in a luggage rack, and then you have a desk and a television standing on it, and there's a bed, and you can walk around it, and if you pay a lot of money, you can run around it. But that's the innovation, and yippee-de-yay, the Novotel launched a new brand. They added the color purple. So innovation in the hotel industry has not happened. And actually, I think we were one of the first to have and I think we're still the first to have a wall-to-wall window with a king-size bed that actually fits the entire width of the room. So we said we don't want to walk around the bed anymore. What's the purpose of walking around the bed? You might as well fill the whole room from side to side with a bed. So it's the biggest king-size bed you ever imagine. And there's certain things we don't do. So don't expect a trouser press or, you know, 2 direct dial telephone lines, and even a tea kettle hasn't made it to the room yet. There's still a big debate going on about it within CitizenM. But the things we do very well. So the shower needs to be absolutely the best shower. Wi-Fi needs to be free and fast and working. Movies, why would you pay for them? You might as well give them. You know, especially if you start with a clean sheet. We don't have revenue coming from the movies that we're going to lose out on, just like the phone calls. You might as well take the cost, it's 2,000 euros per hotel per month, and give it away to the guests. It's a huge benefit. And a couple of these other things that you don't really expect. So bed linen, you can't get around. You need bed linen on your beds. But make sure it's the best bed linen. Egyptian cotton, the same stuff that upscale 5-star hotels use. So how does it look? A couple of images, very modern. The rooms are controlled by a tablet. In London, we just launched the newest version. It's a Samsung tablet. And you can control the color of your room, the blinds, the blackout curtain, how you're waking up, what time. And you can choose to be woken up by sheep or, you know, by a boxing fight, you know, violently. And, you know, the whole room comes online, starts making noise. So there's, you know, the technical, and let's say from a gadget type of gadget point of view, we always like to be outspoken. This is how it looks from the bed, so through the window. You can see it comes in a couple of colors, and this is a 16 square meter room, which in the end gives guests a greater satisfaction. But we do certain things, and you know, for example, in New York, we figured that Americans need to have a gym. So we built a gym, but we don't put it in the basement, we put it at the rooftop, at the 20th floor. On the other side of the window, there's a bird hotel to do something back for the poor birds in New York that don't have a place to land. And so you have actually a great view over the Hudson River, and we've taken it to the other extreme. Rooftop bar in Times Square. So if you look at the hotels, and this is really going to go fast, we started at the airport, 230 rooms, and it's right at the airport. You cannot touch, but you can see the planes from there. We have a hotel in Amsterdam City. It's between the financial district and the city center. Then Rotterdam is opening in a few months, also in the old city center, just a small hotel. Glasgow, drinking capital of the world. If you want to hear some funny stories at the reception later, running a hotel in Glasgow gives you at least 5 funny stories every day. I'll tell you one funny story. We had a lot of issues with drunk guests, people that go out and they come back and they're drunk and they're creating trouble. And one of our guys was talking to some kind of professor that knew a lot about Scotland, and yeah, so what have we done wrong? He said, well, if you figure, you know, in the whole world, the UK is known for its alcohol consumption. Then within the UK, you have Scotland, yeah, that is known for its alcohol consumption. Within Scotland, you have Glasgow, that's known for its alcohol consumption. And you guys chose a location right on Sauchiehall Street. What were you thinking? You know, not having alcohol-related issues. And it's actually not too bad. And when we said, we spoke to the police and said, we need one of those direct dial things, those buttons, panic buttons. He said, what do you need it for? You only have 5 issues a night. We're not going to give it to you. Then we opened Bankside, which is just on the other side of the river, next to the Tate Modern, 192 rooms, and well, there it is. Beautiful city. We're opening one next door, Tower of London, it's going to be on the tube station on Tower Hill. Big hotel, meeting rooms, nice views, great location. St. Paul's, which is actually a stone throw away from St. Paul's. Well, Paris Airport. Times Square, really at Times Square. A lot of hotels claim to be at Times Square. And we're on 50th and Broadway, as you can see. And then Bowery, which is still in the concept phase, but will be opened as well next year. So by the end of next year, we'll have around 11 hotels. We're about to do something in China, and we have big plans. So where does CitizenM fit in a, let's say, a highly competitive market? London has 1,176 hotels on Booking.com. So where does that idea come from that London needs another one, and where do we fit in a competitive market? And this is actually the first thing we've done. When Ratan, as the CEO and owner of Max, had an international design team working for him, they always came to him and said, listen, how can we get more money from you to stay in London? Because £160 a night only gives us something that it feels uninspiring. Creative people, they like to be in creative spaces. And for £160, you can get a lot. So the first thing we've done is actually we made a chart with on the left side low quality, on the right side high quality, and at the bottom low price, at the top high price. So all the way from low quality to high price is a straight line. There's a reason why an ECEW or a Holiday Inn Express are cheaper, but also of less quality than a W or Four Seasons. So the traveler's frustration is, this is where I want to stay, and this is where my boss pays me to stay. Of course, we are there, and this is what we fight for every day, but you need to start somewhere, right? You need to put yourself on a chart, and we can have a lot of debates where, if W should be a bit to the left or to the right, or if the Easy Hotel should be way up. But this is the traveler's frustration, and we've really spent a lot of time. We've worked with universities before we even thought about getting finance to build hotels. We spent a lot of time looking at this and say, how can we do this? Because you can put yourself on the chart, but now comes the challenge. How do you do that? Because there's a reason why all these hotels are in a straight line. So how to make this possible? If you look at Booking.com, and I invite any one of you to look at this, how can you get a 8.9 reviewed hotel for the price of what else is on page 1 of Booking.com, a 7.0 hotel? Booking.com is very good in customer reviews. They send everybody, they chase people, they ask people to leave the review. And a lot of people, actually, in the beginning, they didn't trust this. Like, how can this be? There must be a trick. But then they started to understand a little bit more about how these customer reviews work, and there's a clear correlation between what you offer and what you charge for. But I want to go into this, how to make this possible. This is what we wanted, and this is what we are trying to do every day. So how do you get there? There's 4 main elements. Construction cost. This is not software business. We don't just put up a server, allow some people via user interface to upload some videos and wait for Google to buy us. You really need to work. You need to get permissions. You need to build a building. So this is an element. If you look at the total picture, the investment that you need to do lies a lot in construction. So what are the things, the questions, and you're probably coming up with some questions yourself. What are the things that are important here? Construction cost. It's time. How fast can you build a hotel? How much square meters do you need? London ain't cheap. To get that site at Tower Hill, it was not, the cheapest site you could ever buy. So how to be really effective? Labor. Not sure if you counted the number of people here in this hotel, but there's a lot of people in the hospitality industry. This is the game that some airlines play really well, but the hotel industry is still really bad in it. You know, you have still a £200,000 manager needed to run a 5-star hotel. You have a bellboy, and you have somebody else that then instructs the bellboy that there's somebody waiting for the luggage to be picked up, and then that guy is a supervisor, and then there's 2 supervisors that supervise the supervisors, and then 10 layers up you get to that GM that drives around in a Mercedes. So labor is really a problem in the hotel industry, and something that we thought we need to attack. Then you look at distribution, which is my favorite topic. I'm not going to bore you a lot with it, but it's about how do you fill the hotel? How cost effective can you do that? And if you save costs, can you give that back to the customer? I'm going to touch upon that later. That bus is very important. Actually, if you see a bus parked in front of a hotel, and how many of you have been in hotels? Oh, great. So you're all connoisseurs. If you see a bus parked in front of a hotel or in the back, they usually park them in the back. So peek through your window. You know that there's a lot of people that are paying at least a third of the money or less than what you're paying if you book through booking.com. Hotels like to take phone calls as well. They think it's very important to speak with people that want to book, and that people love to call hotels to make phone reservations. And then mentality, something we addressed. That CEO mentality, something we've really found when asking questions to all of these guys in that straight line in our competitive market. They all said, yeah, I mean, this all sounds great. We had the whole Starwood team over, including their CIO, and said that the check-in stuff that you've done is great, but we can't get this done because our CEO doesn't believe in that. And so it's a mentality. How have you organized your companies? So, if you look at construction cost, it's a bit hard to see actually. That's the construction of our Bankside hotel, and a couple of hotels here in Europe we've constructed modular, which means we've built the rooms in the factory. And for the people that work in the South Bank, I spoke to one of them in the RBS office. They've probably seen this hotel going up, and from the first pile, and I'm not going to be exaggerating this or lying to you about this, from the first pile into the ground until completion was 11 months. We've done that by making a ground floor traditional, adding modular units on top of that, having everything prefabricated. The room was equipped with the linen when it came in. The television was on the wall. It has been tested that it works. All of the piping was in place. It just needed to be connected. And if you look at the footprint of a hotel, I spoke to you before about CentizenM. You can see there an upscale hotel and CitizenM. We use around 28 square meters per room. An upscale hotel uses around 55 square meters a room. Now this is just building it. Now just think about heating it, servicing it, keeping it up to date, the running costs of doing that. And this is not purely coming back into the room size, but it's also about all of this back of house. You think that this hotel here use conferences space as something they really like to do? You don't make money on it. You need to put a lot of staff into this. The only reason they do this is otherwise, you know, they can't fill the hotel. You know, there's probably a whole bunch of you that are staying in this hotel. So for me, having conference space, and a lot of big conference space, is a way to attract business, but it also increases your cost of construction, and you really need to ask yourself, do you want to do this? So the time that it takes to construct a hotel, and the cost while doing it. If you look at labor, we have a funny combination between self-check-in and the friendliest staff you can ever imagine. And we were surprised when we opened our first hotel. We thought people are going to love the mood pad, people are going to love the 24-hour beer in the bar, people are going to love the free Wi-Fi, the free adult movies, you know, people are going to be very excited about this, but the first thing that people responded on and started appreciating was our staff. And we've done something right, and I wouldn't say it's by accident. I mean, for me it came by accident, but the people who are really responsible for this say it was designed. We recruit staff in a way that we look at the people. So we don't look at what they've done in the past. We don't look at the resume to see if they've done hotel school, and they know how to serve a cup of coffee, and to wear the uniforms, but we look at the people. So we have recruitment days. Whenever we open a hotel, we invite 100 people that send in their resumes. We organize one day. On the day you have a lot of fun. You do workshops, you do tastings, you role plays. There's a lot of emotional moments when people talk about their idols, and the only thing we do is observe. We don't have a job interview. If you go to CitizenM, when we open a hotel, we pick the right people because we've made it so easy for them. Our hotels are like retail stores. We're just selling guest satisfaction. We're selling a night's sleep. It's not too complicated. So you don't need all this managers, supervisors, this whole hierarchy. The only thing we do is invest in staff. So these people get paid a front desk salary, and every month they can make 30% extra. And that is not, as you see it in other businesses, based on the number of extra items they've sold, or it's purely based on guest satisfaction. And I'll come back to that later. Purely based on guest satisfaction. And of course, by being smart, before going into distribution, a normal 4-star hotel has 0.5 FTE, full-time equivalents, per room, which means in a 400-room hotel you have 200 people on your payroll. And at CitizenM we try to keep that ratio at 0.2, by being really smart, by allowing people to check in themselves, and, but always have staff around. Number 3 is distribution. Coming back to the bus. This is our model compared to an upscale hotel. You will see that an upscale hotel, let's say we average the rate at 100. It doesn't have to be pounds or dollars, or it's not any performance indicator. Let's say the average rate is 100. A normal hotel gets there by offering, let's say, half of their business a premium and half of their business a discount. Think about this for a second, what these hotels are doing to themselves. So on public channels, this means that people see CitizenM at, let's say, 105 euros, and our competition at 120. And then actually in a normal situation, we see a lot of times that it is way more. That we're 100, where our competition is 150. And this is where people come to me and say, hey, you're underselling, and this is not the right rate. But considering that those channels, those individual bookers, they book online, take 95% of their guest reviews, we're giving them a way better rate. So this is a little smart trick, and it's actually resulting in every city we operate in so far, we're in the top 25, and we're 8.5 or higher on Booking.com. And this diagram here is actually created by myself, so it looks a bit amateuristic. But it's for me to explain that distribution is not, and it is more internal, distribution is not just selling rooms. It also means that you do something, that you keep an eye on guest satisfaction. So you have a relation between your guest satisfaction, what type of customers you are attracting, to the rate and the occupancy you're achieving. And then mentality. With us, the CEO cannot make any decisions. For sure, he can decide what bonus we will get at the support office, like we call it at the end of the year. But he's not going to decide if we're going to have a tea kettle in London or not. He's not going to decide if he likes a new trouser press into a room. No. The guests are at the top of our organogram. And we've included our guests there. Then we have our ambassadors, which are those guys that we hire, managers, and then below that is the board. So we don't have a head office. We don't talk about a head office. I work for the support office. If I come into the hotel, nobody's scared. In other hotels, oh shit, management. So we tidy this up, and we got to make sure this guy is happy, and hey, they bow for you. In our hotel, no. So Lennert, these stupid kiosks are not working anymore. Can you make sure it's happy? Well, it's not really my responsibility. I don't care. Get them fixed. And so this is the guy, the front desk guy, that is telling me, the manager, the director, that I should fix something, because it's getting in the way of the guest. And it's a very funny way to work like this. So just to summarize, a couple of solutions: construction time less than a year, square meter use of a budget hotel, fittings of a luxury hotel, self-check-in, centralized operations, just like a retail store. Why does, if you operate a chain, any hotel need to have a guy that can fix a payment terminal? You do this centrally. You call a central number, say, hey, fix my payment terminal, and there's one guy that does it. So you need to be smart about this. Genuine, real staff in the hotel. Well, market segments, so we don't take telephone reservations and all that kind of stuff, and buses and airline crew and all kinds of complicated reservations, just online individuals. And the guest is the real king. Now you're going to wonder, how do you measure that? And that's the one thing hotels like to measure, because they don't like to spend anything taking a risk. They always like to measure. So there's all kinds of tools available in the hotel industry. And this is just a graph that shows you what we call the Global Review Index. It's a tool that scrapes the entire internet, all review sites, Booking.com, Expedia, all of these sites, and it shows you trends. And so if you actually start putting your rate in here, and if you start putting your performance in here, what type of guest, you can really find out if the guest is appreciating or not. The tool also allows to drill into the details, and this is necessary because that bonus that you give to those ambassadors every month, you better tell them why you're not giving them the 30%. And so automatically on a tool, and this is something that we discuss in every management meeting, the details. We're not looking at a net promoter score. I mean, yes, we look at it and it's great to see it go up, but we're more interested to see where the guests are seeing pain in our property. And we're very upfront about it. Sometimes you can find a staff member was not very helpful. We try to find out who it was and why. Maybe he didn't have a good day. Maybe we need to fire him. Maybe he doesn't fit. Involve your audience. That's also something we do. We're very open on social media, and you can try it out at CitizenM. Jago is the guy that is doing this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and he's pretty good at it. At some point we need to scale it a bit more, but now Jago is still fine with 24 hours a day. But hotel openings. What is a better way to open a hotel? And we've done this for Glasgow. We repeat it again in London. We use social media channels for a test sleep, and we said, you know what? For those of you who follow us on Twitter and on Facebook, you can book now for next week, CitizenM for free. Try us out. We want you to try it out. The first time I did this, people said, you're crazy. These people are not only very tech savvy, they know Twitter, they know Facebook, so they're going to hunt you down. They're very outspoken. We don't know if the hotel works, and you're inviting them in for a test run. This is going to be out on Twitter and Facebook. We've created with these guys, the closest group you can imagine. They're always thankful. They're always thankful for having the chance to actually see the hotel before it opens, enjoying a free night stay. And so we've been building up for a small little company quite a big base of Twitter followers, active followers, and Facebook fans. But you have to face reality. Sometimes, and this is maybe not an issue here, and I've heard way more professional responses to social media on this conference than you normally see in a hotel conference. People are whining about TripAdvisor and Booking.com, and how can this person put this on Twitter? He could have also come to me. So for you guys, this is normal. In the hotel industry, is not. You have to face reality, and the one thing with bad reviews here, CitizenM sucks. There was an issue. Great, there was an issue in the hotel. The water temperature wasn't good, and the technology didn't work. Things fail, and hotels have a problem accepting the fact that it's exposed on the internet. We have a very genuine reply to stuff like this. Unfortunately, we have a lot of, most of the reviews are good. So for us, we're very, with the curtains open, there's no tricks. Just improve your product. We can't get away with mediocre service anymore unless you fight price only. And I've heard a competitor of Lisa actually say a couple of years ago, I think it was Ryanair, we don't care about social media, we don't do it. They don't care. Everybody's, their customers are on social media, but they're not. So they're not listening to it, they don't care, they're price only. In the hospitality industry, that's never the case. So everything gets more transparent with social media, and hotels are obsessed with things like this. Take control of your online reputation. Come on, fix your real product. You know, if you have an issue, don't fix the online reputation, fix your real product. So it's all about caring, but can businesses draw a line? The problem that we have as a hotel industry is people check in and they say, hey, I have already 100 reviews on TripAdvisor. So if you don't give me a couple of free drinks, I'll slaughter you online. Yeah, and that really happens. It's a problem in the hotel industry and everybody talks about it. And this guest actually put a review on TripAdvisor after he spoke to me. It was again in Glasgow. It was not a pleasant conversation on the phone. I said, you do whatever you want to do, but I'm not going to sound like President Bush. I'm not going to be taken hostage by a terrorist. I'm going to draw a line here. Because in the end, I know the mass is always right. You know, Glasgow is on number 2 on TripAdvisor. London is on number 22, I think, this week out of 1,176. The airport is on number 1. And our city hotel is number 15 in the big city. So don't be too upset with 1 bad review or 10 bad reviews on a large scale. The mass is always right. So with that, I want to thank you for your time. And I'm a bit over time, but of course, willing to take any questions. Thank you.